We are just days away from the Deadlift World Championships, and we're going to take a look at every single athlete and what we think they can pull. So Deadlift World Championships happening this weekend in Vegas. It's going to be live on Official Strongman. You can make sure you watch along there. If you can get to Vegas, come down. It's going to be an epic show. We'll be there. The athletes will be there. We're going to see, hopefully, some records.
Hopefully, yes.
And if not, at least some huge lifts, as well as the full competition that's happening as well. However, in this video, we are focusing on the deadlifts, what we think the athletes can pull. We're going to take a look at what their PBs are in competition. Giants Live have announced the weight jumps that are going to be used.
They haven't announced them.
They haven't announced them. Mitch Hooper announced them.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of go through what those numbers are. We will say that these are subject to change.
Yes.
And I do hope that they do change.
We really want an extra jump, don't we?
Which will kind of totally mess up our predictions based off the numbers that are going to be.
I wouldn't be mad.
But we hope that happens because it wouldn't make us mad. However, as it stands, according to Mr. Hooper, the jumps are going to be 400 kilos, 425 kilos, 455, 453, it's 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Then going 470, and then finally the 505. The magic number that everyone would love to see. However, I would like to see some numbers in between these, particularly around the 470 mark, because 2 years ago we saw Rauno do 476 kilos. We've seen even Makarov win this competition with 475 kilos before. Last year Hicks won with 470.
Yeah.
And if no one does the 505, we're going to see 470 as the biggest number once again, which means we're almost going backwards unless we can break that record. Well, the second biggest deadlift in a Giants Live is Rauno's 476. Eddie's 500 is the biggest. Obviously, that is the goal to beat. However, I'd love to see someone do more than the 476 if we don't see that 505. And I think for some athletes, being around the 477 to 480 mark is an amazing lift to start with. I'd be going epic if I saw someone lift that. I'd be over the moon if I could lift that myself. And I think for some guys it might be a better target than jumping for the big 505. So I would like to see a number in between. I'd actually like to see some other numbers just to create some splits between athletes, because I think we could end up with a lot of athletes tied with the numbers set as they are.
So we're going to start with none other than the world's strongest man, Big Tommy. Oh, that was horrible. But we're going to do it anyway. So Tom actually doesn't do many suited max deadlifts in competition. The last time we saw him do it was the 2019 WUS Dubai, and there he pulled 430 kilos. We did see him do a max deadlift at the Strongest Man on Earth, quite different rules though, and they were not allowed suits or figure of 8 straps. There he pulled 409 kilos.
Yeah, he's an athlete I think that gets something out of a suit. His raw deadlift 409 is still massive, but not as big as some of the other athletes. I think in the suit we'll see Tom going either 425 or the 1,000 pounds. I think that's his range. I would personally like to see, if I could have a dream scenario, it'd be like 400, 425, 440. And then I would probably go for the 1,000 pounds, then maybe like a 465,
and then 477
to 480, just so we get that second biggest lift ever at Giants Live, then the 505. And I'd say right now Tom is between the 425 to the 1,000 pound mark.
I think so too.
I think 1,000 pounds would be amazing for him. 425 should be, he should be having that as the minimum.
Definitely hit that, yeah.
But I think, that's where I see him lifting in this contest. I think if he can get the 1,000 pounds, it secures him good points. If he doesn't get the 1,000 pounds, it might cost him points. So could be a very important lift.
So next up is a man that definitely gets a lot out of a deadlift suit. Yes, Oleksii Novikov has pulled 1,000 pounds at Giants Live. That was back in 2021. Now we know he suffered with injuries since then. He's sort of slowly building his way back up. Most recently at the Strongest Man on Earth, he pulled 384. Again, that was no suits, no figure of 8s.
Yeah, and we've seen him do some ridiculous lifts in suits. I mean, I watch him sometimes in the warm-ups and you think, no way this guy's even going to pull the opener.
Yeah,
and he goes on to just keep pulling and pulling and pulling. However, as Liz said, he's not back to his best. No. I think £1,000 would be a big ask in this scenario. I think he could do with I say this, the big jumps might actually favour him if a few people fail the £1,000.
Yeah.
I think he's capable of getting the 425.
Yeah.
I think I won't even kind of put him, like with Tom, I said that range. I think Oleksii pulls 425. I don't think at the moment he's got the £1,000 in him.
No. So next we have the T-Rex, Evan Singleton. Now, Evan has pulled £1,000 twice at the Deadlift World Championships, first in 2021 and most recently last year, 2023. His deadlift looked really strong at the Strongest Man on Earth. He topped out at 420 because he was disallowed a lift for his hand opening up. There were much stricter rules there. He's not going to have those problems here.
Yeah, I think Evan's going to pull £1,000. I think he's done it before. I think he's capable of a little bit more. I think if there was like a 460 lift, that would be something he could look at. However, if it's £1,000 lift, I think that's where Evan will top out, and I think it'll get him decent points.
Then we have the winner of the Strongest Man on Earth, Mitch Hooper. Now, he has pulled £1,000 at Giants Live the first year, the only year he did it actually, in 2022. Last year he got married, At the Strongest Man on Earth, he got a 438 kilo deadlift, and he came second to Thor.
Yeah, now this is the first athlete that I kind of put beyond the £1,000 mark. I think the £1,000 is like I was talking about Tom, the 425 is kind of definitely there. I think he is definitely capable of the £1,000.
Yeah.
I think he has a chance at the 470. Again, maybe a jump in between there could separate people around, but this is the first athlete in this lineup that I think has a shot at the 470, which would put him in very good place for the overall competition.
Oh, sure.
I can't see him challenging the very, very top guys that are just there for the deadlift. However, out of the guys in the competition, Mitch is one of the few that is capable of the 470.
The next one is very, very interesting, and I think probably the most difficult to predict because it's Iron Bibby, and we don't see him deadlift that often, and certainly not max deadlift in a suit, but he was also in that 2019 WUS Dubai competition where he pulled 400 kilos, and we must remember this was 5 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one to call because, as you say, we don't really have a lot to go off. He's a ridiculously strong man, very strange shape. And I say that affectionately, but he is a strange shape in terms of, what we're used to seeing. He's got such big legs, and having such huge legs, actually, when you watch someone with he's a very big squatter. When they have that power, they are fast off the floor, and then those legs actually get in the way of the lockout. They create a lot of friction, they push the bar out in front of you, and they make locking out much, much harder. The saving grace is he's going to be allowed straps, so grip isn't a factor so much. You can kind of keep hitching and pulling out. He's got tremendous power. I think 425 is a cert for him. 455 or the £1,000 is what he's talked about really wanting to hit. I'd love to see him do it.
I would too.
I think it would be cool to see. It's just a hard one because we just don't have that much data to really go off. Even in terms of training, he doesn't post that much. His training videos are harder to sort of follow than some other athletes that are using, calibrated plates on the bars and stuff. So very difficult to kind of pick with Iron Bibby, but I would put him in that 425 to £1,000 mark.
Next up is Luke Stoltman. Now, Luke, incredible overhead, has some really strong events. Deadlift hasn't been his best event historically. So he's pulled 400 twice, I believe. He's done it in the 2019 WUS Dubai competition. And last year he was in the Deadlift World Championships where he also pulled 400.
Yeah, I think 400 is kind of his area. Has he been able to improve enough in the time away to pull 425? Maybe we could see that. I think
he's coming back from injury as well.
Yeah, I think my sort of sensible head says 400 with a small chance of the 425, but I would probably stick with the 400, secure that opener, save your energy for the events that you're better at.
Next up is Eddie Williams, coming all the way over from Australia. Now, and I say this with love, Eddie is the one who I'm a little bit worried for on the deadlift, because the last time we saw him pull a max deadlift was back in 2018, and it was 360 kilos at Australia's strongest man, bearing in mind the opener here is 40 kilos more than that.
Yeah, however, we have seen him do reps at Giants Live before. I think he's got 3 reps on the axle before.
Okay, 3 or 4? Has he managed 4?
Potentially.
Okay.
So I think he's got a chance of the 400. I'd say 400 again is the limit here, but I think I can see him hyped in front of a crowd pulling an ugly-ish 400.
An ugly-ish?
I mean, you know, we've got to be realistic about people's abilities.
Yeah, of course.
I think 400 he'd be very happy with.
Yeah, but and again, it's such a long time ago, 6 years, who knows?
Yeah, he's made great progress since then.
Next is Austin Andrade. Now, the World Open last year and the Deadlift World Championships was his debut at Giants Live, and he pulled 420 kilos raw, never lifted in a suit up until that point, I believe. His competition PR is from the strongest man on earth this year. Again, not allowed the suit or figure of eights, where he pulled 436 kilos.
I'm excited to see Austin
me too.
in this. I don't know why. I thought he pulled 430 at the... But still, that
maybe it was 430
I think
actually.
It might have been.
Yeah.
But the fact was that was raw.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You know, he's been training in a suit now. He pulled 440 for double recently in training. I think 100% he pulls 1,000 pounds.
I think so too.
I wouldn't be shocked if he pulled 470. Like, you know, we're talking bringing those percentages down in terms of, you know, he does it, but I think he's one of the few, again, along with Mitch Hooper, that potentially could get 470. I think the £1,000 goes.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think that's probably, you know, he's within that range. Maybe again, I'd like to see that extra jump between those kind of two weights just to separate people.
Yeah.
But he is looking very, very strong at his deadlift, and I think he's going to be wanting to put on a show and, you know, get big points on this one. £1,000 for sure. Maybe, just maybe, that 470 is possible.
Next is Trey Mitchell. Now, Trey's best deadlift is again raw, like Austin, 427 kilos on the elephant bar at last year, 2023's Arnold Strongman Classic.
And I'm not sure how much Trey gets out of a suit.
No.
You know, we haven't seen a huge amount of suited deadlifting from him. We did see Trey take on the 400 kilo deadlift reps as part of the WUS records.
Yeah.
He's a great deadlifter, and I think he's another one that could potentially pull 1,000 pounds if he's in good shape, and he seems to be getting back into that top Trey shape.
Yeah.
We saw him recently at the Strongest Man on Earth look good, so I would love to see him come and pull 1,000 pounds at the Deadlift World Championships.
Next is another big deadlifter who's doing the full competition. Matt Ragg has pulled 460 kilos at a competition in New Zealand. I think it might have been Static Monsters, but don't quote me, I'm not 100% sure what show it was.
I don't think it would have been Static Monsters. They do a partial deadlift in Static Monsters. But yeah, he pulled 460. Has a very good record on the deadlift in competition. Yeah. I saw a recent training video where he didn't look that good.
Well, he failed 425. He said afterwards that he thinks his suit was a bit tight, he mistimed it, and the bar was too far away from him.
And, you know, to be honest, that is definitely possible. You know, getting into a suit just can throw you off a little bit. Sometimes you need a few more weeks practicing it to just get comfortable. We've seen him do some very, very good deadlifts in the past, and he's backed it up in competition. So again, I would say the £1,000 is, you know, it has to go. He's got to get that £1,000, and it's not unreasonable that he could pull potentially the 470.
No.
Him, Austin, and Mitch are the three athletes that could really screw things up for the top. The guys that are there just for the deadlift, if they don't
skip it and do £1,000 straight to 505,
which is one of the reasons I would love to see a few extra jumps in there just to separate people, because I do believe that the top three guys that have just come for the deadlift are the best deadlifters in the contest. However, when you're forced to go for those jumps, say they do £1,000 and jump straight to 505, you could have one of the guys doing the full comp that beats them all.
Yeah, definitely. So next we move on to
those athletes.
Yeah, the three that are guest lifting in the deadlift only, starting with Ivan Makarov. Now, honestly, I spent so much time on his Instagram earlier. It's really hard to find out what his actual comp PB is. In Giants Life, I know it's 475, and that was when he won the Deadlift World Championships in 2021.
And I know he's done a few 480-ish
Yes,
pulls
he has,
at
yes.
various different events, one-off lifts in different,
like guest lifting and stuff like that, yeah.
I love watching this guy. If you go and watch his Instagram, the ridiculousness of some of the lifts he does, like 70-kilo tricep extensions and doing like sit-ups with 160 kilos.
You've seen the shape of him as well.
He's a beast.
He is a monster.
Absolute beast. Dances as well.
Yeah,
I've seen.
Yeah. Bit twerking.
Now, he has probably had the most attempts at the 505.
He has.
I think, he's guaranteed for the 1,000 pounds. 470, I'd say, would
Any
go
day.
up, no problem.
Yeah.
However, 505 is a big, big ask. He is extremely strong. I think the reality is probably still looking at about 25-30% chance of the 505. I think the problem is here, if you're going to go for the 505, is there any point doing the 470? And I think
only to maybe secure a win or a joint win with the other guys who pull it.
So I'm going to say that even
skips it.
I think if he's coming for the 505, he skips the 470. He pull 455 or 453 thousand pounds as his last pull before the 505, and then fails the 505. I think the way he pulls, I think the 480 mark, something like that, is where he's at. I'd love to be proven wrong. Same with Hicks in a second we'll talk about. But it's a big, big ask. And I'm going to say, based on he's coming to pull the 505, that the 1,000 pounds is his biggest lift.
So then we move on to Graham Hicks, and his best deadlifting competition is 470 kilos, which won the overall competition last year because the other two guys skipped the 470.
Absolutely.
And did the 1,000 pounds.
I've got to say, Hicks's early training looked incredible.
Yes.
He's gone a bit quieter. His 465 wasn't quite as good as I would have liked to have seen, particularly towards the lockout. He's got tremendous power off the floor. He has really trained hard. I think he's in a good place mentally.
Yeah.
And again, I think he's coming for the 505. I think the fact that you're coming for the 505 means you're not going to do the 470.
But he did do it last year then attempted the 505.
But I think, yes.
Do you think he might change his tactics this year?
Yeah, I think he will go straight for the 505. And then, again, I think 20% chance of getting the 505. I'd love him to get it. I really would. I'd love to see any of these guys get it.
It would be such a big win for Graham.
I've been wrong before.
Yeah,
so and I'll hold my hands up and say, dude, you're
mind
incredible.
being wrong.
I don't mind at all. I just have to be honest about what I think and what I've seen, how I've seen things moving in the gym. I don't think 505 is there. I believe Graham Hicks is a 485 kilo deadlifter, which is ridiculously strong.
That's why we want to see that jump in there as well.
That's why I want to see that jump in there.
Yeah. And the last man on the deadlift is Rauno Heinla, whose best in competition is 476 kilos, which he did at the 2022 Deadlift World Championships. That is also the Masters Deadlift World Record, and he holds the world record in the 18-inch and silver dollar deadlifts right now.
He's got a fantastic deadlift resume.
Yes, he does.
And I think, again, Rauno, 450, not a problem, 455. I think Rauno will pull the 470 or attempt the 470. I don't see Rauno pulling 505.
No, I think, knowing Rauno as well as I do, and he hasn't told me this, I think his plan would probably be open at 425. Depending on how that feels, I think he'll do the 1,000 pounds and then jump to 505 if he thinks there's a chance.
Do you think he thinks he has 505 in him at the moment?
He definitely didn't think it a couple of months ago. He had a bad session the other week, which knocked his confidence a little bit, but then he's had good sessions since, which made him feel, it's just...
Like Rauno's a good friend of mine. Yeah. I don't think he's got 505 in him right now. I don't think his prep has been good enough.
Or long enough.
And long enough to certainly, lift that kind of weight.
Do you know what I would...
But I do think 470 is doable.
Yes.
I think maybe even 477 as a new Masters record, 480. I just don't believe 505 is there. I don't think deep down he believes that 505 is there.
And I think, like, when we talk about why we think people will score what they will, that's why we desperately want to see an extra jump or two at these certain points in the competition.
Now, I appreciate it's hard with the time limit that Giants Live have.
It would actually fill some of the dead air that we do have, though.
I think it could.
Yeah.
You know, if athletes were allowed those extra jumps,
yeah,
not everyone's going to take them.
No, God,
we need to
most people won't be in.
Yeah, you need to get through athletes as quick as possible. But yeah, I would love to see some extra jumps in there just to kind of split up some of the athletes, because you could get into a position where a number of guys are on 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And then, you know, or a number of guys are on 425.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have like 3 different groups of scoring, I think.
But it's not going to be many people, you know. I don't think it would really add that much time to the competition at all.
Absolutely. We're talking 505. You've really got to understand how heavy that is. When Eddie pulled the 500 kilo deadlift, he took it to a completely new level. It was an incredible moment, just blew the world record apart, just unbelievable. It was really a special moment in Strongman. And Thor, whether you agree or not on whether it was in competition or not, he was the first man to do more than that, 501 with a standard deadlift. If any of these guys can do 505, we are going to go mental. Yeah. I'm going to be so happy for them. I like all these guys. I wish them the absolute best.
I don't care who does it.
No. What I'm giving you here is my honest opinion, based on what I've seen in terms of training, based on what we've got to go off in the past, and knowing how heavy some of the big lifts I've done are, and how hard it is to kind of go to what I've done, and they're going even beyond that, a number of these guys. It's tough. You know, it stood at these kind of crazy 500 for a while. We've been going for 505 for a fair few years now, and no one's got it. It's a massive number. We wish every single one of these men the best. However, there is one more athlete competing that I do believe will make a new record. Yeah. Lucy Underdown is competing and going for the women's world record, which currently is 700 pounds, 317.5 kilos. And I believe she could do an Eddie Hall and destroy it.
Yeah, and I hope she does, to be honest. I do. I hope she does whatever she thinks she's capable of on the day. And if that means absolutely destroying her, well, because, you know, you could say, all right, I'll take the approach where I'll break it a little bit at a time. But you never know what's around the corner, do you? Absolutely. This is like time to shine. If she thinks she's got it in her, like...
So, I mean, I'll give a number out there in a minute. What do you think she's capable of?
I think she could do... I mean, based off of the way her lift moved last year, I think she's got 330 to 340 in her.
I would agree. There's a couple of reasons why. One is just how well it moved.
Yeah.
She is without question the best female deadlifter on the planet, and I believe now she's training in a suit. She didn't use a suit when she pulled the three.
Maybe 350.
I think 340 is. Who knows? She's an incredible athlete, but
she is.
340 would be mental, to be quite honest.
It would.
I mean, 330 would be insane. Even like 325.
I put 120 once, nearly died. So yeah, it would be crazy.
Yeah. So I think this is the one guaranteed record. As long as she's fit and healthy, I cannot wait to see her smash it. Yeah. We wish every single one of these athletes the best of luck. They're all incredible. They're all, you know, putting themselves on the line to entertain us as fans and try to break records. Giants Live, we hope we can chuck some other numbers in there just to make it fun. You know, I get it. It's time restraints and stuff like that.
We'll move them along for you.
Yeah, we'll get a whip.
Cracking the whip out back. Get out there.
Get out and lift your bum. But no, it's going to be a fun weekend. If you cannot get to Vegas, make sure you tune in on Official Strongman. The link is in the description below. Let us know your thoughts, guys. Do you agree with us? Have you got your own opinions? Do you think anyone can break the incredible deadlift record and pull an insane 505 kilos? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget, like, share and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.